There's an issue going on right now in Austin where they have this progressive Soros-funded DA who's just letting everybody out of jail.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you do? Rape people? Let them out of jail. Murder someone? Let them out of jail. It's fucking bananas.
Yeah.
And this idea that
microaggression, straight to prison.
And they're talking about the drop in crime, but it's because crime's not reported in a lot of places now because the crime went up so high and they defunded the police. It's like in Austin, they're 500 cops down and the morale is down because of the defunded police and because, cops, like I believe there was 21 cops that were brought up on aggression charges during the Black Lives Matter protest.
Yeah.
17 of those cases I think have been dropped. I don't know. I'm sure if that. Here, I'll send you an article. You can tell me if that it's in Barry Weiss's Substack today, or her newspaper.
Sure.
But this is a real problem where you see the results playing out. You see that they're negative, and I mean, kudos to Oregon for correcting course. But you see it playing out with crime and with prisons. And here's my number one beef with this. All this effort to do that, all this effort to let people out of jail, no cash bail, what about reform? What about putting all that effort into reforming people? How come that doesn't exist? What about funding reform inside the prisons? What about going to all these impoverished, drug-ridden, gang-ridden communities and doing some good? How come there's no effort there? If you're a real progressive, you want fucking progress. You don't want people who are already up by the system and violent criminals, habitual criminals, and just let them loose to victimize everybody else, raise everyone's anxiety, create more crime and violence, and have no solution to it whatsoever. That's not the solution. It's very unfortunate those people are in that situation where they are habitual criminals. And I'm sure a variety of factors beyond their control contributed to that, without doubt, right?
Sure.
But that's the solution's not let them out. The solution is stop that from happening in the future. And there's no effort whatsoever put on that. There's no conscious thought of like, how do we get at the beginning of this?
Yeah, and that's an almost impossible question to answer because it is so complex. There are so many contributing factors, but I actually don't think it's totally necessary to do that. You actually can just say, here are the behaviors that we tolerate, here are the ones that we don't tolerate, and then you lay out a series of simple consequences. And so what we're seeing in El Salvador, which of course is ongoing, it's fraught with potential problems, but what they did is essentially lock up the 1% of the El Salvadoran population that were the violent, committed gang members and drug runners, and they reduced the murder rate by more than 90%. It used to be the most dangerous country in the world, highest murder rate. Now it's per capita, depending on how you measure it, one of the safest countries in the hemisphere. The lesson is that it is actually a vanishingly small number of people that commit the large plurality or majority of crimes. And so it's not that you have to have a kind of soul-searching and endless kind of navel-gazing and philosophizing. It's simply to say, people who are a direct threat to others that commit violent crimes that maybe have 20, 30, 40, 100 convictions in their criminal history, cannot participate in society without limits. And it's something that people have been scared to talk about. But I think that is ending because when people start to feel a sense of danger in their daily lives, they're going to start to break through some of those taboos and to say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, the letting people out of jail who are violent criminals doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah.
And I think we're there. Even in Seattle, they elected a Republican city attorney. They elected a moderate city council, a moderate mayor. And the big cities, especially the West Coast cities, are waking up to this citizen rage. These are the most prosperous cities in the history of the world. But they can't keep the streets clean. They can't keep people safe.